Welcome along then to another big match build-up show, and this episode is sponsored by OneFootball. Do check out the excellent free app to keep up to date with the latest transfer news, scores and stats all in one place. To download the OneFootball app, click the link in the description below the show. So here we are then, on the road again. Saints head to the East Midlands once more this weekend, this time to play Claude Puel's Leicester City. Increasing pressure on our former man, and that could well add extra spice to this weekend. But of course, we know as Saints fans, nothing is that easy, of course. So on this week's we're back to normal preview show. I'm joined by our favourite sweary non-PC blogger to take a look back at the Derby result in the FA Cup, and of course, looking at our outlook heading and leading to Leicester. And as for the opposition, we tracked down the UK's best Jamie Vardy lookalike to tell us truly the feelings of the Leicester fans. But is it a familiar tale?
They will be thinking more on Saturday about the defeat to Cardiff and the defeat to Newport than they will be about the wins against Man City. If we get an early goal on Saturday, I think the crowd will turn on him. I can just see that happening, because they will be looking for any excuse to go for him, especially, I mean, imagine being an away fan and you went from Leicester to watch to that game at Newport.
I think this is it. This is the weekend. This is the one. His own old club. I think this is the one. If you don't win this, I think he's gone. I think it'll be Southampton that will get him the sack.
Irony. And do stay tuned later on the show for your bite-sized away guide. But as usual now, of course, the episode is available to download in the card above my head if you're watching on YouTube, or available on most audio platforms in the links below the show. Of course, do let us know if you share any of our thoughts in this week's build-up show. Get in touch in the comments or on the usual social pages. But without further ado then, let's get on with the show as Saints try to outfox the Foxes. So welcome along then to our first half of our big match build-up show, and another trip to the East Midlands this weekend as Saints visit Leicester City, Claude Puel's Leicester City, and here to give us a very sweary, irreverent, non-PC look on things. Joining us once again is Glen de la Cour, League One -10 below. Really good to speak to you again. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, ups and downs over the Christmas period, I guess. But as far as Saints are concerned, yeah, not too bad myself. So happy days. Well,
should we get straight to it then? The other sort of East Midlands club visiting Pride Park or the iPro Stadium, whatever it is called now. Frank Lampard's Derby County as well, 2-2. I mean, on paper, it's sort of the same old story, giving away a 2-goal lead.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. When I saw the lineup, I thought how soft, the central pairing of Ward-Prowse and Slattery looked, and I did sort of wonder how that was going to work out as the game went on. And though it probably wasn't directly through that channel that we conceded, it didn't surprise me that we were soft towards the end of the game. And yeah, we could easily have won it 3-2 with Elanusi's header, but we equally could have lost it 3-2 in the last minute. So 2-2 is probably a fair result, though really until they scored one, you couldn't see them getting a goal at all. So it was a bit disappointing from that point of view. And yeah, we've coughed up another game, given ourselves another game to play.
That's right. And, sort of the first half, there was really nothing in it. And we were sort of in control for the most of the game. And, you have to say it was a relatively strong team to start in it, but I think ultimately what happened is the naivety and inexperience sort of cost the game. A lot of youngsters featuring on the bench, and a few of them coming on towards the latter stages.
Though it wasn't the youngsters who sort of were the problem. If you look at the 2 goals, I watched them back today actually. It's the first time I've seen them, and if you look on both of them, Jack Stevens turns his back. One, on the second one, he turns his back on the shot, and on the first one, he's doing exactly the same thing. Second one, of course, Vestergaard just passed the ball straight out of play for no readily apparent reason. Second goal again, the guy runs in from the left wing. Cedric doesn't go and tackle him, but where's the right winger? Who's tracking back? What's going on there? So it was. I don't think it was the youngsters who sort of caused the soft goals at the end, but. yeah, that's a problem that Ralph hasn't quite got to grips with yet, I don't think.
And if you get the chance to watch the highlights back again, one thing I noticed, Cedric, his defending for that second goal was almost sort of like a sketch comedy show. He sort of throws his bum at it towards trying to block the shot, but cracking goal from Lawrence in the end. But a report, a headline said that we were cruising to 2 goals to the good, and then had a frantic 3 minutes where we lost all sense of composure.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I never feel like we're cruising towards anything. You know, on the classic, we're 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go, we might get a draw. Sort of. That's the way I feel about it. I think that's the last. I think I've always been a bit like that as a Saints fan, but the last sort of like 2.5 years, it's certainly been that way. At 2-0, you know that if 1 goal goes in against us, we're probably going to let in another one. We don't seem to react to setbacks well. Until we've had another one, and that's something that was prevalent at the start of the season. Like the Brighton game, for example, 2-0 up, 2-1. You knew the next goal was going to be theirs, and it's still happening. But what all we can say about the derby is that it was kind of a reserve side. So hopefully that won't repeat itself in the Premier League.
Well, before the match, I suppose their objectives are sort of to concentrate on their promotion push. But it's 2 excellent strikes from Derby, and I suppose Hasenhüttl has got a task on his hands of trying to eradicate these old errors. And he even said it sort of a couple of fixtures ago that we had some bad behaviours. I mean,
turning your back on shots, as mentioned earlier. That's a basic. He's obviously seen something he's not quite happy with Alex McCarthy. Don't know what it is, but he's not happy there. I think basically the bad behaviours he's talking about is probably standing off, not staying in teams' faces and trying to get on the front foot all the time. I just think we still have these periods of games where we switch off and we're going to have a breather for 20 minutes now or whatever, and it costs us. And I think, if I was guessing, that's what he's talking about. But, we are always going to struggle to put teams away because of our lack of strength up front. So,
I mean, not only that as well, Derby, they've got Previs coming from behind, an absolutely bonkers sort of Christmas fixture from 3-1 down at Norwich and then going on to win 3-4.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I mean, Derby, I assume, rested a load of their players. That wasn't their first choice side out there, but Lampard's the kind of guy, like we hope Hasenhüttl's going to be, to his sort of personality and his way of things is going to rub off on players, and they're going to go for it no matter what, and that seemed to be the case with them in the second half. But they really did nothing in the first half on Saturday, but. They only needed to do something for 10 minutes and they got a draw against us. So.
Well, hopefully it's not the same old story. Next Wednesday is now on BBC One for the TV cameras, and the fixture awaiting us, a trip to Lancashire to Accrington Stanley. Provide us with the typical who are they quote.
Yeah, fair. Didn't Brett Ormerod play for them for a bit?
Yeah, well, he started at Accrington, sold on to, I think it was Blackburn, and then they had a sell-on fee which Accrington sort of cashed in from when he signed for Saints. So, perhaps Accrington got some Saints to thank for building their sort of new stadium.
Maybe they'll get him on BBC to do the commentary. Though I doubt it. He's got the face for radio, isn't he? He hasn't really got the face for TV, so not like me, obviously. But good on Brett. We could do with him playing up front on the next couple of games. I mean, Accrington. It's. I read somewhere today we haven't played there since 1959. But as I kind of hinted at earlier on, we don't get ahead of ourselves as Southampton fans because. We know that tends to come back and bite you in the arse. So, let's worry about that one if and when we beat Derby.
Yeah, if and when, of course, the big key words, I suppose. But one player I think we have to single out as well for he's coming on leaps and bounds. We saw him in an improvement earlier on the season, and he's sort of gone to a level sort of under Hasenhüttl. Nathan Redmond, a cracking goal, probably the best that I've ever seen him score for Saints, and 4 goals recently in the last 5 appearances.
He's been excellent. He's been excellent all season. At the start of the year, people were pointing to a lack of goals or a lack of assists, but I remember he set up the one that Charlie Austin had disallowed that should have been given, which brought on the famous Park Life rant. He set up the one that Shane Long bobbled wide from the edge of the box that was an absolute sitter. So he was being let down by teammates at the start of the season as much as he was missing the target himself. And it's started to come right for him now, and that's great. And long may it continue. And it's going to have to continue because we're struggling in all other areas of sticking the ball in the net. So we're kind of relying on him a little bit now. Because if him or Armstrong don't score, you're kind of struggling to see where the goals are coming from.
Well, right now we're sort of blighted with injuries, really, and also to contribute in Højbjerg's suspension. Although, having said that, the replay will also contribute to it, so he will return on the Everton game on the 19th. But we've got a list of injuries here. Lemina's had stomach issues, sort of problems. Ings is going to miss the weekend's game. Bertrand's still out, likely to return over the next sort of week or two. Obafemi also missing, and Yoshida out with the Asian Cup.
I must admit, the Asia Cup thing, I was unaware of that. I don't know if I'd been living with my head in the ground or whatever, but I didn't realise he was going to go, which is a real shame because he was just beginning to establish himself as very important in the centre of that sort of three-man back line, and we actually looked relatively solid for sort of 5 minutes, and it's a real shame that he's now got to go, and I assume in the league game we're going to revert back to a back three, and he's going to have to put either Stevens or don't mention his name, the Dutch bloke.
Vestergaard.
Yeah, don't mention the other Dutch bloke. Don't mention him. But he's going to have to make a change there, and you just hope it doesn't upset the balance that was beginning to look like it might be a good thing there.
Yeah, and Yoshida's sort of man of the match performance really against Chelsea. And I suppose we better sort of touch on the outgoings as well. I mean, this week, Gabbiadini seeming on his way to Italy, back to Sampdoria, and Stephen Davis, excellent stalwart to the football club, joined Rangers this week.
Yeah, I mean, start off with Gabbiadini. It breaks my heart because we've bloody ruined him. We've ruined him. He, hopefully he gets his career back on track. I know I'm only really concerned about Southampton, and once players leave us, they tend to be dead to me, especially the ones that go to Liverpool. But Gabbiadini, you can't help but wish him well. There's a real good player in there. And when you see some of the shite that we've had playing up front, or we're going to be having playing up front in the next few games, it's heartbreaking to me that we haven't been able to get the most out of him. He provided probably the best moment of the last 2 years when he equalised at Wembley against United. Just for a second, I genuinely thought we were going to win, and it was a brilliant moment. And he was great when he came in, but we just don't seem to have used him to the best of his ability. Stephen Davis has been magnificent player for how long's he been there? 6.5 years. Magnificent player for 5 years. Just always there, underappreciated by many, but always there, always kept the ball moving, never had a bad game. You noticed him when he wasn't there. Last year and a half, legs seem to have, gone a little bit, and he struggled against particularly the sort of bigger physical opponents. I remember we played Spurs once, and they had Wanyama and Dembele in midfield, and they kind of just ran over him all game. And, I just saw that sort of creeping in a little bit. But he's still obviously got something to offer. He'll do really well up in Scotland. It sounds like it's the place he wants to be. It's a brilliant move for him. And, wish him really, really well. It's very rare for a player to stick around for 6.5 years these days.
That's right. And over sort of 200 odd appearances. And when he turned up at the airport in Glasgow, everyone was already there to greet him as well. So, excellent servant, excellent professional. But Leicester this weekend, I think they're going through a bit of turbulence at the moment, a familiar tale, I suppose. Boring Claude Puel, truly unpredictable at the moment, beating sort of Man City, Chelsea over Christmas, and then embarrassingly losing to Cardiff at home, and of course getting knocked out in the FA Cup by Newport on Sunday. He
doesn't help himself, does he? He really doesn't help himself. It's like things start going well. They have the two fantastic wins. They had a win against Everton as well, which is, that's a decent result. So I think that was away from home as well. Lost to Cardiff in the last minute. But the Newport game, the FA Cup, I can understand the way things are these days, if you're up near the top of a division or near the bottom of a division, I can understand you resting players because you've got other priorities. If you're where Leicester are, 7th or 8th, that's where they're going to finish. They're not going to qualify for Europe. They're not going to go down. And he's basically tanked an FA Cup game. That's a hanging offence in my book. For where Leicester are, that's dreadful. Hopefully that'll play into our hands a bit this weekend, because I think a number of Leicester fans, that they wanted to get rid of him, and then they had a couple of wins, and football fans being what they are, they kind of, okay, well, we've won these 2 games. But they will be thinking more on Saturday about the defeat to Cardiff and the defeat to Newport than they will be about the wins against Man City. If we get an early goal on Saturday, I think the crowd will turn on him. I could just see that happening, because they will be looking for any excuse to go for him, especially, I mean, imagine being an away fan and you went from Leicester to watch to that game at Newport. And, that's just shocking. I know they've tried to. I know Wes Morgan was trying to make noises today saying, "Oh, you can't blame him. You can't blame him." You bloody can. It's just shocking disrespect for the FA Cup.
Well, I think it's fair to say he'll be under sort of serious scrutiny if he loses the game at the weekend. So let's wrap it up then, Glenn. Give us your score prediction. Our visit to King Power this Saturday.
1-0 to us.
All right.
I'm quite optimistic. 1-0 to us. I don't know why. I don't know who the bloody hell's going to score for us, but it looks like, if everything's to be believed, that it's going to be Shane Long up front, doesn't it? So you do kind of wonder, maybe something will bounce in off the trampoline touch, and we'll get a goal that way. But yeah, I have a feeling we're going to nick this 1-0.
All right, I'll take that all day long. Just remind everybody where we can find your very sweary non-PC blog.
It's called League 1 -10. You can Google that and it comes up. It's www.league1-10. The 1 is ONE. So League ONE -10.blogspot.com. I'm also on Twitter, of course, at L1-10. It's been going for 10 years now, which I didn't realise till someone pointed out the other day. So this is the 10th season. And I'll probably celebrate the end of the 10th year by retiring, I think.
Glenn, really, really good to speak to you again, and we'll speak again soon.
All right, cheers then. Bye.
Huge thanks once again then to Glenn, aka the League 1 -10 blog. Now, it's been 10 years since he started that site, and it is worth saying, a massive well done, mate, for all your efforts and keeping most of us sort of entertained over the years. Do keep it up. We enjoy it, and hopefully some of you guys watching or listening to this show do check it out as well. But now it's time to tell you your bite-size away guide. And if you're heading up on the trains, once again, it's a magical mystery tour of the Midlands, and we managed 4 splits to Derby via Birmingham last weekend, so a very similar route again this week. And if you are arriving at the train station in Leicester, it is about a 1.5 mile walk or a 25-minute walk to the football ground. But there are a couple of pubs literally on the train station's doorsteps. So a couple to choose from there. Otherwise, if you're heading for a pre-match pint around the ground, then the standard procedure is usually the Counting House, just a short walk up the road, available with your standard lagers, ciders, soft drinks, etc., and live sports on TV. And one top tip as well, if you're heading to this pub at the weekend, do download the Green King season ticket app to your phone, and you can redeem 10% off select drinks whilst the football is live on TV, and there is a match midday game. So do make use of that app whilst you're there. But that's that. And now it's time to speak to our opposition, and we find out why the inconsistencies in Claude Puel's camp. Welcome along then to our second half of our big match build-up show and another trip to East Midlands. And usually we speak to Phil from 100% LCFC, but substituting in this time round is the UK's best Jamie Vardy lookalike, Lee Chappy. Really good to meet you, mate.
You said you weren't going to say that.
How have you been, mate?
Yeah, cheers for having me on, mate.
Shall we get straight to it then? You said I shouldn't ask you about it, but I will. I suppose probably the biggest result of the weekend, Leicester losing 2-1 at Newport. 7 changes. A lot of your main players, really, Vardy, Maguire, Schmeichel, Chilwell, and a couple others all missing. 7 changes from Claude Puel. What did you pin it down to?
I think you said the 2 words, Claude Puel. I think you're used to that, ain't you? When you had him at your place, rotation and stuff. It's great that he brings youngsters in and gives them a chance, but I think he rotates so much. I think he loses his own bearings of what he's got on the field.
So the Newport game, what do you blame it on? Is it purely the rotation, or is Newport really up for the cup?
Newport were definitely up for it. They gave us a right good game, to be fair. We didn't put the chances away. Inacio is just not good enough. Man City seen us coming with that one. He's starting to climb up that ladder of the worst buy we've ever bought. I think he's that bad. I think you've got to give credit to Newport. We were crap, but at the end of the day, they wanted it more. They put their chance away. We didn't put our chances away. We have the best, apparently, I don't know if this is true, we have the best stats for the second half in the Premier League. If the Premier League was based on the second half, we would be top, apparently. So having said that, I didn't see anything in the second half that was really much different to the first. So I don't know.
Well, like you said just a second ago, a rotation policy, I can see stark comparisons. And I suppose a rotation policy that wouldn't look out of place on the walks at the fairground. It's
a bit weird, to be honest with you, because when you think Andy King for Leicester, he's not played a game in I think it was just over 12 months. And all of a sudden, he's got a game. It's like, what? Don't make sense to me.
Do you know, that actually brings me on perfectly to my next point. My next point was Andy King. He come on for a cameo for the first time in, I suppose, 12 months. He was away at Swansea before. But this is a very similar episode that we've seen with Jose Font back at Southampton. I think it's fair to say Andy King, one of your club legends, been from League One all the way through to win the Premier League, not getting a game. And
I'm not knocking him, by the way. I'm not knocking him. But to bring someone on that's been out of it for 12 months, it really shows disrespect to the cup, I think, on Puel's behalf.
As an outsider, it seems like a very similar story. A lot of the same catchphrases coming out of the Leicester support. Boring, Claude Puel, sideways passing, you know. But it can't be that bad, surely. I mean, you're 7th in the Premier League, in a league of your own, effectively.
I know. It's I don't know. It's hard to explain. The fan base has gone Marmite. It's bizarre. I've never been in a situation like this before with fans where it really is horrific. If you go on social media, on Twitter or Facebook, you see the comments. I'd say it's a 60-40 split at the minute for Puel out, maybe more. I mean, 100% LCFC did a poll and we got something like 80-something% on one poll. Which I think was the defeat to Cardiff at home after we'd just beat Chelsea and Man City, the 2 previous champions, and then we lose at Cardiff, which is the Leicester way, by the way. That was always coming. But that's us. That you could write that. I think we hold some stupid records for some stupid results, and that's one of them. You beat 2 previous champions and you lose to Cardiff. It don't make sense. And then you lose into Newport.
Well, for me, it's your typical consistently inconsistent team at the moment. Christmas wins against, like say, Man City, Chelsea, but embarrassments against Cardiff and Newport. It's
bizarre. It's almost it's almost like we're 7th because of maybe other results around us and not our own results. If that makes sense.
Well, I was listening along to some of the 5 Live clips a day or so ago when you got knocked out on Sunday afternoon. There was a caller, I don't know his name, I can't remember it, you might know him, but he said Puel was a total disgrace, disrespected the FA Cup, he must go now.
I'm kind of on the fence because at the minute I've been backing Puel all the way because we're 7th. If you go back 10 years, we were in League One fighting for, to get back into the Championship and, we weren't fighting, but you know what I mean. And when I was a kid, we were a yo-yo side. We were up and down in the Prem and in the Division 1, the old Division 1. So if you fast forward that now, I'd snap your hand off if you said, "Oh, we're going to be sitting between 7th and say 10th in the Premier League season after season." I'd be snapping your hand off. But it seems like because we've won the Premier League a couple of years ago, it's affected the fans. I suppose in a way, it's just their expectations have been blown out of proportion, and you've got to bring it down to realistic. There's 6 big clubs above 7th. They are huge. Those 6 sides above are massive compared to where we are as a club. They're huge, and we're relying on one of those teams to potentially make a mistake to nick 6th spot. That's the only way you'd ever nick it, because you're not competing with them top 6. We're top of the league. The rest of the league, we're top of the rest of the league. That's how I see it.
I suppose there's very similar, I suppose, sort of our expectations in our fan base. Well, we had that terrific win the year that you won the Prem, of course, but a bit like our fan base, our expectations have been hired, and we're not reaching those objectives because we've got that moderate success over the last sort of few years, year-on-year progression, and But I suppose, Claude Puel, how many more opportunities, how many more possibilities will he have?
I think this is it. This is the weekend. This is the one. His own old club. I think this is the one. If you don't win this, I think he's gone. I think it'll be Southampton that will get him the sack.
Irony.
Yeah, no, seriously. Put a bet on that, guys. When you're watching this video, put a bet on that.
All right. So all that being said, I mean, Phil likes to ask me every time I appear on your preview show, give us a score prediction and a first goal scorer.
I think we're going to score first if we play the right spine. Maguire needs to be on, Mendy needs to be on, Maddison needs to be on, and Vardy needs to be on as a central spine in that team. If that's played, Vardy's going to score a goal, but I think we still might lose it. I don't want to say this because obviously I'm going on your side of your videos, but I think you guys might come down and do us, and bye Puel.
All right. Well, I'd absolutely love that, and really good.
I don't want to give you a score, but I will say 2-1. I think we'll score first, and you'll come back.
Hang on a minute. You're actually predicting Saints to come from behind to win a football game?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. And that's what will get us the sack, because you've not won one from behind yet, have you, this season?
No. Well, no, we haven't. No, not for a long time even.
Right, okay. I didn't know it was for a long time, but this season I tried to check the results earlier of you guys. Yeah, so maybe that's what does us. Well, maybe that's going to do Puel. Maybe Southampton's going to put Puel out.
Well, there you have it then. And you got a podcast of your own, not just on 100% LCFC, but just tell everybody where we can find you as well, mate.
Yeah, so search for me on YouTube, Lee Chappy. You'll find me on there. I do some videos. I do Premier League news every day, just like a 4-minute video of just roundup stuff. I'm featured on the Real FFS podcasts. I'm on the TV show on Channel 4 as well. And do a few other bits and bobs. Check out 100% LCFC on SoundCloud and iTunes. I'm putting out my own as well soon as well. So I'll just follow me at Lee_Chappy on Twitter. That would be the easy thing to do.
Great stuff. Really good to speak to you, and we'll catch up on the weekend, mate.
Yeah, good luck.
So once again, then, a massive thanks to Lee Chappy. Do make sure you check him out on our 100% LCFC and all of his social pages. Do subscribe to his YouTube channel if you want to see more from him on Leicester or just Premier League in general. Cheers for speaking to us this week, Lee. But I think it is fair to say if Leicester don't get a result over Saints at the weekend, I think Monsieur Puel's position could be under serious scrutiny. And can we, ironically, add the proverbial nail to the coffin? But what do you guys think? I'm interested to find out your thoughts. Let us know your predictions in the comments below. Anyway, that does wrap up this week's show. Big thank you for watching, for listening along. Do let us know if you're heading to Leicester, to the King Power this weekend. Only one thing left from me is come on, you Saints.